Hey guys, it's Jason back here with JM's Gardens. I just wanted to do another quick video here and talk a little bit more about compost. After the last video, I was talking to some friends on Facebook and I realized that there was a whole lot more that I am actually doing that I didn't mention in the last video. So a little bit more about compost first, and then I'll talk a little bit about compost tea. One of the things that I like to do, first of all, I have this book. It's called Gardening Magic by Joey Green. If you don't have it, I highly suggest you get it. Basically, what he does is he writes down all kinds of name brand products like Listerine and Q-tips, Reynolds wrap, and stuff like that, and he goes into detail about how you can use these things to help your garden. But one of the things that I learned from this book is that you can actually take flat Coke. Maybe you had a little bit left in your bottle, and instead of dumping it down the drain, pour it into your compost pile. What that does is it increases the acidity, and it gives the microorganisms and the bacteria some more sugar to take on. So that really helps things out a lot. I do apologize about the background sounds there. Another thing that I started doing, if you have some things that you can set aside and do basically a long-term compost, meaning you don't go out and mix it every week, like we talked about in the last video, one of the good things to do is to take some old tires and stack up about 3 or 4 old tires and put everything inside of there, throw in some worms and put a cover on it and just let it sit. And what I do is I let it sit literally for a whole entire year, and then I check back on it. The tires will insulate everything on the inside during the winter, so the worms don't die and won't dig farther down in the dirt. There's some more things that you can put into your compost piles, like non-sweetened tea, leftover cold coffee, stuff like that. It says that you can add black pepper to keep dogs out of your compost pile. And one of the things that I do a lot here, we all drink a lot of coffee at my house, so we always have leftover coffee grounds. And one of the quickest and easiest ways to make compost is to take your coffee grounds, and what I do is put them all in a Ziploc bag and freeze them until the Ziploc bag is full, or put them in an empty coffee container, freeze it until it's full. And then when that coffee container is full, mix in a cup of soil and mist it a little bit with some fresh water and shake it up and throw it in a dark closet and let it sit. And in about 30 days, with just shaking it maybe once every other week, you'll have perfect compost. And obviously, the coffee grounds are really, really good for compost. And another thing, kind of on the same lines that I do, is mushrooms. We eat a lot of mushrooms here. So, like if I go to the store and buy some mushrooms, and sometimes there might be a bad mushroom in the pack, or I take the stems out, or there's some of that leftover soil in the pack of mushrooms, I'll put that all into a Ziploc bag and I'll freeze that too until the bag is full. And then I'll take the mushrooms out, I'll thaw them out, and I'll put them in my food processor with just a little bit of water, and I'll chop them up in the food processor, and it'll make kind of like a paste. And without the soil, for the chefs out there, blitzing up the mushrooms like that is called a duxelle, and that's what they put into beef Wellingtons and stuff like that. But anyway, you take and chop that all up, add a little bit of water, and then mix it with, you can even mix it with the coffee grounds if you have them ready at the same time, or you could just mix it with enough dirt or soil and do the exact same thing. Shake it up every 1 or 2 weeks, throw it in a dark closet somewhere, forget about it for a month, and when you pull it out, it will be the most amazing compost you have ever seen. I mentioned last week that I love mushroom compost. And you can take a look. There's a few links on our Facebook page now for one of our new partners. He is promoting a mycology expert, basically a guy who is going around and having conferences and lectures on how mushrooms literally can save the world. So obviously mushrooms are going to be good for compost. So it's kind of a good video to take a look at. I'm pretty sure I shared it on my Facebook page, so check that out. You'll actually learn quite a bit. Now the other thing I want to talk about today is compost tea. There are a lot of ways to do this, and as per usual, the way I do things, I kind of adapted from Ray on Facebook and YouTube, how he did things, and then I kind of just adapted it to my own, the way that I could do it. Some people take and go all out and put compost in a bucket, fill it up with water, put molasses in there, put an air bubbler in there hooked up to a pump like you use in an aquarium, and that brews some really good compost tea. People can't always do that. We can't always afford the air pumps. I mean, those can go from $20 to $60. So what I do during the summertime is I take a few shovels full of compost, whether it's compost that I bought or compost that I made. I throw it in a plastic garbage can, fill the entire garbage can up with water, put the lid on it, stir it up, shake it up, whatever, let it sit for a week. After that week, I don't use it after it's a week old. So I'll let it sit for a week, and then I'll use it for a week, and then I'll pitch it. I'll dump it back into my new compost pile or whatever. Because sometimes when you let that compost tea sit, it can start growing some harmful bacteria. So I only use it for a week, and then I pitch it and I start new compost tea. When I'm inside during the winter time, it's a little more difficult just because we got to do it in the house and I got to watch the smell. So what I do there is I take like a 3-gallon bucket or a milk jug, and I'll put probably about 4 or 5 cups of compost in either some cheesecloth or some old pantyhose that I find laying around, and I'll tie that off, and I'll just basically stick it in the water and hook it onto the side of the container, just like you're brewing tea, and just let it sit there and steep. Sometimes that takes a little bit longer. I've had it take up to 2 weeks, but when I do that, then I can actually take all of the compost out when I'm ready to start using it, and there isn't necessarily a timeline for how long you have to use it. So like the outdoor compost, like I said, I don't like to use it more than a week. Inside, I can keep that in the closet, not in light or any heat or anything like that, and it'll last upwards of a month. And compost tea really does affect your plants in a wonderful way. I mean, it's a night and day difference. And, sometimes you got to watch that you don't use it at specific times, because some plants don't want all the added nitrogen and stuff like that you get from compost when they're trying to fruit. But when you do use it, when you should, it is just absolutely amazing. Your plants will be 100% more healthy and strong, and they'll produce a lot more than you would ever think of. So I strongly suggest that you take a look into doing compost tea. There's other YouTube videos. I'm sure there's thousands of YouTube videos on how to make compost tea. This is just how I do it. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. And again, I apologize that it's not an actual video yet. I still am working on getting a good camera to record stuff on. And if you have some time, take a look at our website, jmsgarden.com. We've been adding a lot of different blogs on that website. We have some really great products for sale on the website. And sign up to subscribe for our weekly newsletter if you want, and get some wonderful tips all throughout the year. Everything to help you in the kitchen and in your indoor and outdoor gardens. Thanks a lot, guys.